Hi everyone, how are we? Thank you so much for taking out your time to come by Mandala. Are we all feeling good? Good? Good with the wine and the food? Okay, that does the magic usually. Let's get started. Everyone please gather around. We're going to start now. Okay, next please. Very quickly, I do want to start by asking a few questions, which is why are we here? I know everybody's crazy busy in Singapore, so Dubai must be really interesting for you guys to take out some time to be here. So I get a few responses from the audience in terms of what really got you here this evening. That would be a lovely start. Anybody who wants to have a quick start about why they got interested to this event? Yes? You want to move to Dubai? You are moving to Dubai. Love that. Anybody else? Do you have any responses in the room? Dubai is just interesting. Okay, let me help. Next, please. I did a survey, and this is basically what had come up. I think a majority of you were just very, very curious about Dubai, and you might have so many ads pop up on your Instagram. Have you guys had ads pop up on your Instagram? Almost most of you. Lots. I hope I popped up here and there. Maybe I did. Okay, great. Lovely. And I think loads of you want to know more about the Golden Visa, which is why you guys are here, which is the 10-year visa we will cover as well. And then some want to relocate, like Pari, right here. And then just want to invest in Dubai in general. So next, please. We will cover everything. I do love to talk, but I will try to make it as valuable and try to talk as less as possible. We will cover everything from how to invest in condos or a landed property, to how to get that golden visa, how to get started, what does mortgage look like, or how does investing look like in Dubai from Singapore perspective. Next, please. Just a quick introduction about me so you know who's talking here. Hello everyone, my name is Malika Bubna. I am a Singapore country director for my company. I work for a prop tech company in Dubai called Marfa. We aim to make investment like global by helping, it's a prop tech company, we're launching a platform, but potentially making cross-border investment easy. Our customer acquisition is having leaders in every single country, truly understanding the market. For example, if I do Singapore, truly understanding what gets people in Singapore wanting to invest in Dubai. How does the Singapore roots look like from Dubai real estate perspective, Singapore perspective, and how can we bridge that gap better by just providing valuable education. Yes, next please. So I get this question a lot. Even in this room today, I have been asked constantly, why do people invest with you? Because I have been doing this for over a year, only in the Singapore market. All of my investors, except a few here and there, word of mouth, are people from Singapore. They are usually Indian expats or Europeans who potentially have been here for quite a while and either, firstly, want to relocate to Dubai or they want to have a holiday home in Dubai because they have families in either London or India. Or lastly, they want to purely invest in Dubai. And the first thing that really gets them excited is that they don't have PR. So they have to pay 60% stamp duty, which is obnoxious, if you ask me. Does everyone in the room have PR or who do not have PR here? Can I have a quick raise of hands, please? You do not have PR here? Okay. And you guys have been here for more than 5 years or? Okay. So yeah, you guys have to pay 60% stamp duty. That doesn't sound very appealing. We have a one-time 4% fee. So anybody who wishes to invest in Dubai only has to pay a one-time 4% fee, which we call the DLD fee, which is our way of stamp duty, which basically says the property now is in Malika's name. That's it, by the government. Number two, we are centrally located around the world. So if anybody has family in the US or Europe or Southeast Asia or Australia, I know Australia is closer to Singapore, or wherever in the world, we are centrally located, so it's easier to go. Also, everyone around the world now does wish to go to Dubai once and experience the Dubai life, which is promoted everywhere on Netflix and Instagram and Facebook and whatever not. So we have a lot of people visiting Dubai. What's interesting is that the Dubai Mall, have you guys been to Dubai Mall here? You have. Awesome. It was the most visited place in all of 2024 around the world. We had 123 million visitors only in the Dubai Mall. That's wild. That means a lot of people do want to go to Dubai for a day or a two and get an Airbnb and visit Dubai as a transit from their corporate jobs or through their family homes. So yeah, a lot of tourism, so great for people wanting to invest through rentals. And lastly, since you do not have PR, I have a lot of clients who have come to me and they say that they have kids and all they know is Singapore because the kids have been born and brought up here. And they are on employment pass and either the spouse is on dependent visa. The problem is that they don't know when that might not be true, and if it is not, based on what's happening with Singapore and companies moving to offshores like Malaysia and Vietnam, some of my clients unfortunately have been laid off and they were given a few months to vacate their homes and then move back to their respective home countries. And that's scary. Luckily, in Dubai, they feel a sense of security because we have something called the Golden Visa, which is one of the major reasons why my Singapore clientele invest with me. Next, please. This was the most asked question on the forum, so I had to get to it in the beginning. A lot of people like Pari want to relocate and they're like, Dubai is expensive, it is full of bling and diamonds and luxury bags and brands. So is it expensive? Singapore is very expensive, guys. Dubai is not really up on the charts yet. This is not through ChatGPT or Google, by the way. You guys all have a red folder with you. That folder has this already, so don't worry, you guys have this already in a different form. This is based on a survey. I surveyed 5 people from Singapore who have a family of 4, and I surveyed a similar family in terms of lifestyle in Dubai, and this is how it came through. So similar standards of living, family of 4, and that's the number. In terms of education, the starting price for an international school in Dubai is around 30,000 Singapore dollars. I don't have to talk about Singapore. You guys, some of you guys might have kids. You guys might pay more than 30,000. I'm assuming this is on the lower end. Does anybody pay here more than 30,000? Oh, you do? Okay. You've got 2 kids? Oh, wow. Anybody else? A lot more? Yeah? A lot more? Yeah. So this is based on a survey for like a normal. So I don't sound super biased towards Dubai that I already am. Number 2 is housing. I have helped 7 families relocate to Dubai only in January. I only do Singapore, and relocation has been top of the charts, especially December and January for me. And all of them have at least 2 kids or 3 kids, and they want to have a helper, and they want to have an office, and maybe a closet, and they want minimum 3+ maids or a 4+ maids. So they've all been looking at a big space. So this is based on a 4-bed, not in the CBD of Dubai, but something like a river valley or like the East Coast in Singapore comparable, that you're looking at 5,400 SGD per month in housing in Dubai, or an 8,000 per month. Or you guys pay more than 8,000, yeah? You guys pay more than 8,000 or around, yeah? Very quickly, one thing which might come as a shock, in Singapore you pay monthly, in Dubai you don't pay monthly. So as landlords, you are looking to get the entire payment upfront. So in Dubai, if our rent is, let's say, 8,000 per month, 8 into 12 is around 96,000. So I'm looking at paying 96,000 Singapore dollars upfront, which we call 1 check in Dubai. However, you can also do 2 checks, 3 checks, but the price point goes up. So if it's 1 check, 96,000, you're looking at 112 for like 2 checks. So that's one thing you have to keep in mind. As landlords, it's great. As somebody who wants to live there, just please make up for that. Number 3, utilities, and that's your electricity, your chiller. In Dubai and in Singapore, you need aircon. So it's somewhere similar, but you're looking at twice less in Dubai. Groceries. I do not know if you guys cook. Everyone is so busy in Singapore that it's ridiculous. So most of them eat out. In Dubai, we do have helpers, but if you look at groceries, you're looking at around 1,000 Singapore dollars because we import everything, so I don't want to sugarcoat anything. So groceries are a bit more expensive, but we still are on the lower end. Transport, that's a tricky one, and that's why I've left it like that. We have the lovely MRT here, like in London we have the tube. In Dubai, we are still very, very young, so we are still building our public transport. We only have 1 line that doesn't connect to every single community in Dubai. So we have metro line plans that's popping up in 2029, 2030, 2031, and that's all a part of the vision. It's a good thing that you're investing in a country that's still developing, that's still building. However, we all drive cars, so yay, we don't have to pay COE charges. And cars are very, very cheap. So 3 cars for the price of 1 car without COE charges in Dubai, based on facts. But in Singapore, you have a well-connected MRT system, so that's the difference. And lastly, healthcare. I would not rate Dubai very highly on here. It truly depends on your employment contracts. Some of them don't have a very good one, so you have to get a new one. So in Singapore, you do have a better compensated insurance. In Dubai, you have to pay a bit more premium. But yeah, that's a bit of a comparison. Is this helpful, everyone? Is this helpful? The survey right here? Very helpful. Beautiful. Can you move on, please? Okay, so now that we've spoken about why are people from Singapore moving to Dubai, it's good to talk about why are people moving to Dubai, if not London and New York and all the beautiful places in the world. I myself have lived in London for a very long time, and London's been my friend behind the screen also has lived in London with me. But we all call Dubai home now. And why do you guys think Dubai is famous? No tax? Is that the famous one? Or cheaper lifestyle? Or business opportunities? You know, it's interesting. When I left London, and I've been in London for a very long time, I had my 2 companies, I was working for a company, I realized that if I leave London tomorrow and then move back after 2 years, nothing would have really changed. But if I go to Dubai 2 years later, the entire city would have changed and I would have missed out. And I wanted to become a part of that change, and that's why I moved to Dubai. My family has been there for a very long time, but I permanently moved recently. So that's my outlook, but next slide please. These are the common ones, which we will get to very quickly. So this is common information, I just want to run through very, very quickly. Number 1, AED is pegged to USD, which basically means that dirhams is pegged to dollars. I know for a fact that I have clients who have houses in France. I recently sold to them in Singapore, and euros is going against SGD, like it's going down. I am from India, INR is going down against dirham and dollar. So it does make for a safe currency preservation, if nothing less. That's one of the reasons why people are investing in Dubai heavily. No taxes is big of them, like why would you not want to keep all of your money? So yay. We do have pretty decent net rental yield. You guys, please don't worry about it. You guys might have seen lots of Dubai property ads about 11% ROI and 10% ROI, and it sounds unrealistic. In some areas it is true. However, the properties that I sell and I believe in give you a 5 to 8% net, meaning in your pocket. When you are landlords, you have to look at your cost. I have a lot of people who are English Indian immigrants, my clients, and their properties in the UK. Not only does the capital gains tax has gone up, but the service charge has become £900, which is around 5,000 dirhams, around 2,500 Singapore dollars per month. That's ridiculous. So net means that after the expenses, looking at 5 to 8% in your pocket. That is regardless of the 11.7% average year-on-year capital appreciation. Dubai is pretty big and small at the same time. Some properties appreciate more than others, but as a whole, we have appreciated by 11.7%, and that's based on stats. And lastly, I do want to talk about very quickly my second last point, which says Dubai is still attainable. Who all have been to Paris here? You guys have been to Paris? You guys like the Eiffel Tower view? Big fan. That's Burj Khalifa. I do not think I can afford a Eiffel Tower view currently or in the long term. I can afford a Burj Khalifa view, and that's possible today. I do not believe that's going to be possible in the next 5 years. Meaning, Dubai is still attainable. It might not be in the coming times. As I was mentioning, some areas in Dubai have seen a lot more appreciation than usual. We're looking at a few areas on the screen right here. Very quickly, if you look here, we have Dubai Hills, which is an MR community. It appreciated by 61.2% in the last 3 years because we had the Dubai Hills Mall pop up. We have something like MR Beachfront because it is iconic. It is between Palm Jumeirah and Marina, something that cannot be replicated. because we are building our last few towers, it is appreciating so much more, supply and demand. Dubai Marina, it is one of, you guys have been to Dubai? You guys know Marina? The beautiful Marina walk that we love. Marina was launched in 2002 by Emaar, 2002. We have 112 buildings in Dubai Marina as we speak currently. It still appreciates by 22.2% when the buildings are decades old. Singapore standards not that old, Dubai standards very old. So give you an idea, we still appreciate by 60, 70, 80%, which is uncommon to the West, but very, very common for us people who live in Dubai. Next, please. I thought this would make for a very, very helpful slide, so I chose to include that in the presentation. Apart from the tax and the AED being pegged to the USD, this is also based on a survey of 400 plus people, and this is exactly why a lot of people or millionaires have been moving to Dubai recently. Number one on the screen is economic growth potential. It truly means that people around the world truly believe that a lot more job opportunities are still possible in Dubai, a lot more companies are still yet to move to Dubai, a lot more infrastructure is yet to be built in Dubai, which is the public transport, and a lot more landmark buildings, and still a lot more malls and communities and beachfront houses. So these are the two major reasons. I think somebody here mentioned future. I think Pari was you, right? This is exactly what we mean. We mean that there is so much possible with Dubai in the coming years that people see it as an opportunistic place as opposed to anything else, and that's one of the major reasons why they invest in Dubai. Next, please. While I also get tons of questions about Malika. Right now the prices have been going up and up. Will it go down now that I'm investing now? Have I missed the bus? Is it too late? Has that question been on everybody's mind here? Yeah. Am I too late in the game, right? I do want to tackle that head on today. So can we have the next slide, please? This was Dubai in 2000. We did not see anything, and please remember we are a desert. It was sand. It still is sand, but made into a beautiful city with stunning skyline views. Next, please. This is how we are. This is Marina, one of our oldest communities. We have so much yet to come. But talking about the question, next, please. This is exactly what I mean. I would need everyone to concentrate on that for 5 minutes, very, very quickly. There's some quick. One second, please. Thank you. Very quickly, we see this is the Dubai real estate graph. I want to talk about the entire history of Dubai real estate, what has happened and what I think will happen. This is 2008, right? Does anybody know when did we start selling properties in Dubai? Which year? Which year did we open Dubai to the public? 2002. 2002 is when we made leasehold. Does anybody know what leasehold is? That you can't own the property forever, it's for a limited time, right? We made leasehold into freehold in 2002. The property prices shot up until the financial crisis. Around the world, the prices went down and saw a big drop. Now people think that like other countries around the world, we have just recovered like magic and it takes time to heal like breakups and everything else in the world. No, it's not true. I think in Dubai, the leader has always been a visionary, and I think he has always seen problems as opportunities. I also want to again say that we are a desert, and this is what we are today, where the entire world wants a piece of Dubai in some way or the other. Dubai had sold pearls. We had a very famous pearls trade in the 1800s, and then we got water from Afghanistan in 1900s, and then we opened real estate after the century. So we have always been problem solvers to attract people from around the world to see how amazing Dubai could be. Anyway, does anybody know what happened here? During the crisis, we had a lot of developers who flew Dubai, and some buildings were left unattended. And a lot of investors lost money and their faith in Dubai, along with their money. Well, we introduced something called RERA, Real Estate Regulatory Agency. It is on the brochure on the front page. You guys can have a reference later. That basically means that they made it very, very strict for anyone to fly away or like just leave properties, and made it very safe for investors to invest in Dubai. They introduced something called the escrow accounts, which we'll talk about later, but talk about right here. But they basically said that a developer needs to have 30% of the capital they need to build a building or a community in an escrow account with the government. That fund will only be released to that developer upon completion of the building. 30% is a lot of money. It is not your 10 million dirhams or your 12 million dirhams. It is hundreds and hundreds of millions. And no developer in their right state of mind would want to lose on that much capital. And hence, RERA was introduced that gave a lot of security to our investors. Apart from that, here we also introduced a lot of hotel apartments and guaranteed ROI, which was a government measure, and that's why the prices went up. And then, after they went up, in 2013, something historic happened. Dubai won the bid for Expo. Does anybody know Expo? Very, very famous in Dubai. It was in 2013 when it went up the roof. It was all planned, and that's what I'm getting at. Nothing in Dubai just happens because they want it to happen. It is all planned for years. Them bidding the win for Expo 2020 and 2013 short of the prices. Currently, we have something called the Expo Living, and we have the Expo City, which caters to a community of thousands and thousands of people. But they had planned for our population to increase in 2013, which is why they had planned for the Expo and they're building Expo right now. So nothing in Dubai happens by chance, is what I'm trying to get at. Anyway, the prices went up and then again started decline. How many of you guys have called London or the UK home right here? UK is home for people here? Some of you guys, yes? Well, the UK announced that they will do Brexit. And that was not very good for Dubai because people thought, hey, let's go to the UK now. So a lot of investments had moved to the United Kingdom in this time frame. And then COVID happened. Love that for everyone, yeah? During COVID, prices went down around the world. Now the problem is, after COVID, Dubai has seen exponential growth. It's been absolute mad, and people think that it just happened because our COVID's over. It's not true. We have not matched Singapore or London or India or any other country in the world. Dubai has seen highest level of appreciation and ROI around the world. And that has not happened by chance. We have done a lot of things. Very quickly, you see, this is as low as a 2008 crisis. It's the same time. If Dubai would have done nothing and waited for time to heal and the world to open after the COVID crisis, our economy would have collapsed. Because we heavily relied on FDI, which is foreign direct investments from real estate, and we couldn't let that happen. Which is why Dubai opened its borders to the world. I and Zach went to Dubai during the COVID times just to have fun, because London was shut and so was the rest of the world. That is exactly when the entire world was opened to the lifestyle that Dubai can provide and what Dubai actually has to offer. People didn't even know Dubai had no taxes up until 2020 when they actually visited, because they had to. There was no other country they could go. Anyway, Dubai opens its borders, also introduced something called the Golden Visa, but made it more lenient. Earlier, you had to invest 10 million dirhams to get the Golden Visa. Then you had to invest 2 million dirhams with a 50% down payment. During this time, you see this exponential growth. It did not happen by chance. We made the Golden Visa incredibly easy to obtain. And now you need a 24% down payment. That's less than 175,000 Singapore dollars to get that Golden Visa right now. And that's why Dubai has seen an exponential growth. So when people tell me that, oh, it's going to die down, no, it will not die down, because we have so much planned for the future that I do not believe that the ruler of Dubai would let its vision be compromised. We might see a correction, but if something is 1 million today and it becomes 3 million in 2 years' time, and then correction happens and becomes 2.5 or 1.5, investors still made 500,000 or 1 million on that property. I do not call that as a bad investment. I say that's a correction, not a crash. And that's what I try to talk about with the slide. Next, please. Well, let's talk about now. A lot of history, a lot of stats. Dubai's market today, there has been tons of stats around that so many millionaires are wanting to move to Singapore. It is a crowd favorite, and so is Dubai. Dubai is a little bit more than Singapore. We had 6,700 millionaires move to Dubai and around 2,300 to Singapore. And we have a lot more. I had 7 families. I'm just one human. I had 7 families relocate to Dubai in all of January. And I have so many more in the pipeline. There might be so many, like, not like me, but like, yeah, who might help people relocate. Next slide, please. Yeah, I'm here to tackle all the tough questions today. Another question I get is, yeah, there are people relocating, but there are a lot more off-plan projects being developed. So there are so many units coming in the market. If I buy now, will there be an oversupply and then the market will go down? I do not know where this oversupply thing came from. I do not believe there is an oversupply in the market. And you have to look at stats for that. Very quickly, so we are a population of 3.8 million people. We were 3.5 million people 3 months ago and 3.2 million people when I came here in June. We have grown by stupid amounts in only the last 6 months or so. And do you guys know how many units are there in total in Dubai right now? Like a wild guess. Like we are 3.8 million people. Like any random guess about the total ready properties, not selling, buying, renting, just total properties in Dubai. Like a wild guess. Can I get a number from the audience, please? 5 million. It's way less. It is 724,000 units. 724,000 units. There are stats, there are surveys by the top companies around the world. I'm happy to share them later. A lot of people say, where do they live? Well, what people fail to understand. I'm from India. We have a big disparity between the poor and the rich. So is Dubai. I think in Singapore, you start from a certain standard, everything is still expensive. Go up or low. In Dubai, you can get a proper meal for $1, and you can get a meal for $1 million. So we have a big variety. So a lot of people live in bed shares, and a lot of people share because they can't afford the Dubai lifestyle. A lot of people live in a 7-bedroom by themselves. So, very quickly, we have 200,000 plus units coming in the next 4 to 5 years to come. Out of that, only 8% will be ready this year. That's 23,000, let's say 24,000, 25,000, 30,000. That's still not enough to cater to 143,000 people who are moving and the people who have relocated already. When people tell me, another question I get so often, but my house is not renting. What do you have to say about that? Well, if there are 200,000 and if 50 or 100 houses are not renting, I think it's the amount that you're renting for. A lot of people in Dubai have become very greedy as landlords, and that's just true. And they've put in above market prices for rent, and that's why it's not renting. It's not because we don't have people to rent. They can't afford it at the price that you're putting it for rent. So you have to understand the market and work accordingly. Good for now? Next, please. Last slide for history, I promise, and I'm going to talk on the good stuff, which is investments. I do want to take a moment to talk about something which is Vision 2040. It is very, very important if you are looking to invest in Dubai purely for financial reasons. I truly believe that you should put money in Dubai where the government is putting money. They know what they are doing. Just follow the government. It's as simple as that. And you're good. You're safe. We have something called the 2040 Urban Plan. We mentioned the 2013 Expo bid. Well, that was also part of the plan. We aim to be 5.4 million people by 2030 and 7.4 million people by 2040. For that, we need a lot more space, we need a lot more jobs, a lot more schools. I do not know if you guys know that Raffles has included 300 more seats in their classes in Dubai, and there's still a 2-year waiting list. I have clients who are on waiting lists for schools in Dubai, left, right, center from Singapore. And we are still adding more schools, and that's a part of the 2040 urban plan where we're pushing on education and universities and high schools and play schools and so many other things. A lot more hospitals and a lot more clinics. Anyway, I want to very, very quickly focus on this. Something is called urban upgrade. You guys will have a map on your brochure, but I want to talk about 5 key areas that we are focusing on. The first one is downtown and Business Way. The second one is your Dera Bardubai side, where all the Indian communities have lived, which was the earlier downtown. We are focusing on the marina and the JBR because that's a tourist spot. We're also focusing on something very, very exciting. You guys know JVC here? I think it's a very common community. It's very good for rentals. However, now there is a lot of apartments coming up. The fourth part is not JVC, it's Dubai Land. It's like investing in JVC 3 years ago. JVC has grown exponentially. And Dubai Land is part of the urban upgrade where they're bringing in metro stations. They're bringing in 12 universities. I went to Hult International Business School. That's there as well. It's called the Academic City. We are putting in so much work into that area. And the last one is Expo City. So I will just follow the money, literally. And then we're also putting a lot more thought into sustainable living. In Singapore, you guys love walking. In London, we have to walk. We don't love walking. In Dubai, we can't walk. We have to drive everywhere, and you physically can't walk. Which is why we are making a lot more indoor, which we'll talk about later as well, for people to walk in air-conditioned or air-controlled or temperature-controlled spaces. Even the new developments have been, like Pratibha will talk about that later as well, but Ellington is putting in a lot more thought to sustainability and putting a lot more communities out there that promote sustainable living. Zach, next please. Go. So we have something called the 2040 Urban Plan. Next. A lot of people in Dubai ask about, oh, it's too far. In Singapore, everything is 15 minutes cab ride, which is true. And yeah, you guys are very spoiled. In Dubai, I drive 45 minutes to work every day, and that's normal. Anyway, it will not be a story for a lifetime. We are making something called the 20-minute city plan. We are rebuilding roads, which is true. You'll see construction everywhere in Dubai. And we are wanting to make everything a 20-minute driving distance. We do have the new airport coming up. I do not believe they're going to eradicate the old one. And I do believe that you can go to the old and the new one within 20 minutes. Next, please. We do have a casino coming up, which is amazing. We have a place called Ras Al Khaimah, another emirate in the United Arab Emirates. And we are licensed by MGM, the same company as Las Vegas. We might also have one pop-up in Dubai, and when that does, like, it truly will be unattainable. Next one, please. Flying taxis. You have apartments and condominiums with ports that are coming up. In Abu Dhabi, we have started the trial. In Dubai, it's yet to come in the next year. And then we will have food delivered by air taxi, so we will be more spoiled now. Next one, please. DIFC, you guys know Marina Tower here and the Raffles Place. I've heard the traffic is really bad at 6 p.m., 5:30 p.m. We have the same issue. Here you have Marina Tower. In Dubai, we have DIFC. And it is horrendous. Sometimes it takes an hour, and all the major offices are based there. The government launched this last month where they put in quite a significant amount of budget to make it a 1-minute driving distance all through that major CBD of Dubai. We have the world's largest airport coming up, so we'll anticipate a lot more tourism to come through Dubai, which is great for investors and for rentals. This is what I was talking about, which is super cool. We're building a tunnel that's spanning across all Dubai, so from Marina up until downtown. And it's basically like a coveted loop that runs on kinetic energy. So the more you cycle and walk, energy is being generated, and that maintains the temperature of the loop. So no matter if it's 50 degrees, or 20 degrees, or 30 degrees, you do whatever you like. Next. How do we make it happen with our dear friend right here? he just signed a deal with the government last week, was it? And he's helping us build the loop. The contract has been signed. Okay, I'm done with selling the history. Now let's talk about properties, which is what you guys have come here for. I am here to give you the basics. I have my dear friend, which I will introduce soon, where we talk about properties. But I want to give you a rundown of what sort of properties exist in Dubai in the first place. There are two sorts. One is ready, one is off-plan. Do you guys know off-plan properties here, or should we? You guys have a bit of an understanding. Okay, good. Very quickly, with a ready property, you can get something called a loan or a mortgage. With off-plan, it's sand. It will become a property in 2 or 3 years' time. So the bank can't valuate it, so you can't get a loan on off-plan properties. But you have something called an interest repayment plan, meaning that you can pay the developer in installments over 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, whatever you like, depending on the developer and the project, interest rate. Ready, you buy from somebody like me or yourself, so an existing owner who has once bought off-plan. They will charge you a premium because they have waited 3 years patiently for their money to grow and for you to get a ready property, so you have to pay them a very good premium. In Dubai, I've seen people make 40% premium in 4 weeks, 3 weeks, for a branded residence for something that's crazy in supply. So, yeah, here you buy from developer. So you buy it at market price, you do not pay a premium to anybody. And you buy it with the payment plan. Lastly, I have sold ready properties only to investors who said that they have cash lying around very randomly and they want to start earning from rental from day one. But anybody who's purely looking at investment, I really recommend off-plan because then you're not paying a premium and then you can get appreciation from day one. One thing to know when you invest in Dubai is that the maximum appreciation happens during construction. So property appreciates by a minimum 35% during the 3 years of construction. And the best time to sell is 6 months before handover or 6 months after handover. People love a brand new house and they don't have the patience for it. So if you do have the patience, you can make a quite a premium on it. Okay, next one please. Very quickly, the first one in detail off plan. These are the 5 things that I would focus on if I am looking at investing in Dubai. Number 1 is developers. You guys have a favorite developer in the crowd? You guys know for developer in Dubai? Emaar? Okay, I expected that one. Yes, we have 100 plus developers in Dubai, if not more. I think every real estate company now wants to become a developer. It's absolutely wild. Which is why it's very important that this is step 1. You have to choose a better one and not just some random company who has just made money and want to construct something. Next please. Next. So these are the top 3 that you might have heard, which is an Emaar that has built your Burj Khalifa. Your Shobha, that's an Indian brand, Oman to be fair, but known for quality. And my personal favorite, which is the first one on the chart, called Ellington. I literally have sold so much of Ellington in Singapore over the last year. And at this point, people think I get paid by them, and I think they should really pay me to promote them because I'm not making any money off it. But it's interesting, I was on a viewing, and this was before I came. My schedule was manic, and I was on a viewing with a Singapore client, and his budget was 2 million dirhams, that's around 740,000 Singapore dollars, and we're looking at all cash, ready property. I showed him a few around Business Bay, CBD of Dubai, right? And then we had to go to a downtown building, and there was an Ellington building right next to it. And I was driving, and after talks, I was like, oh, that's my favorite building right there. And he's like, oh, which one? I'm like, Ellington, but like, don't worry, like, it doesn't fit our budget. He's like, well, you think I'm too poor for it? I'm like, maybe, that's a ready one. It has appreciated so much, so maybe you are. But he's like, I need to see what the fuss is about. I took him to Ellington building, and he was obsessed. And now we're closing on an Ellington building because of the quality. So I think, I do not get paid, but you have to see it for yourselves about what I'm talking about. One thing that I do love, one thing you should know when you invest in Dubai about developers, there are 2 sorts of developers. One is a master developer, one is a boutique developer. What is a master developer? You guys know Orchard Road? Yeah? A master developer would basically buy all of Orchard Road in Singapore and create your MRT and create your Hilton Orchard and create your residential buildings and create your mall and create the entire road and the walk. That's called a master developer, somebody who does everything from top to bottom in terms of infrastructure and makes that Orchard Road worth living. Then we have, so Emaar is a master developer. Shobha is a master developer. They have projects coming in every 2 days, if not 3 days. Because they have a big community to fill and they have houses coming in. There's nothing unique, but it's the infrastructure that they sell. Nobody in Dubai does infrastructure better than Emaar. Hands down, they're not known for the quality, but they're known for infrastructure. Now, where does Ellington come into play? And why do I like it? And why do people think I get paid for it and I should start getting paid? Ellington is a boutique developer. They buy 1 plot in every single Emaar community. Now, Emaar is not known for quality, it's known for roads and the mall. And Emaar very proudly says that you can change the 4 walls of the house, but you can't change the road or the view and the garden, and that's why you pay me the money. Emaar also has the most strict payment plan in all of Dubai, which means you have to pay 80% during 4 years, and it also has the most lengthiest time, which is 4 years of construction. Emaar starts construction a year after they sell it out. Right? Now, Ellington plays it cool. They're sneaky, they buy 1 plot and make the best building possible in that plot. So they make a very good building with the best quality and then still benefit from the Emaar community. Or any other community that's up and coming. Because Emaar can't, if there's a community that's not by Emaar, but it's really, really cool, Emaar can't build an individual building because they're a master developer, they're partly government. Ellington can go in that amazing community and be like, okay, I love the community now, I'm going to go in and make the best project there. Every single, the building that my dream building, it's called DT1 in downtown. If you guys come to Dubai, I will take you to DT1. It's a ritual that I do with everyone that I sell to. That building has no Burj Khalifa view. It really has a road view or a mosque view. A 2-bedroom, which is my dream building, 1506 is the flat number, it's not for sale yet. It's 4.2 million for 1680 square feet. I have sold Emaar buildings, Burj Khalifa view for 3.6 million, 3.4 million. That building also has nothing for sell or rent, it's all gone. No one wants to sell. So that just, and also the ROI is 18% higher than any other building in the area. Anything that I'm saying on the stage, I have stats for it, so please feel free to ask me my source, and I'm happy to share that later. Next please. Sorry. Location, we all know this, we are looking at properties, we know location is key. Please follow the money. One thing I will talk about is you should be near CBD, or if it is an affordable price point, you should either have transport to the CBD or upcoming transport to the CBD or have upcoming infrastructure. But anything seafront, golf view, anything with a USP like an alcohol license, which is my personal favorite USP, or anything will make your building stand out. So make sure that your location and your developer has both. Next please. No, go back actually. Projects. Now, I am an Ellington loyalist or other developer loyalist, but I don't sell every single project Ellington has, which is true. I have to believe in it. So even though you love the developer, you absolutely love the location, you still have to be very, very conscious of the project. What I look at as a consultant is price per square feet. Now, one big problem I have with Singapore, multiple expos, right? And people think that the lowest hanging fruit is the most flexible payment plan, which is true. If I'm going to an expo, I don't know much about Dubai, and if I've been told that I will have to pay 4,000 Singapore dollars per month and I'll own a beautiful house in Dubai, it is tempting. And I'll be like, yeah, okay, I don't know much, but the house looks amazing, it's Dubai, what can go wrong, let me just buy it. That is when people make their biggest mistakes. Because they are trading off paying a higher price per square foot, which is above market, for getting something which is a flexible payment plan. So your property will not appreciate as much because you're already paying above market. So what if a correction happens? You will not make money because you've already overpaid for your property. And you will still be paying that payment plan that comes in every single month for 8 years, 10 years, God knows how long. So I don't believe in those trade-offs. I have never sold a 1% payment plan and I do not intend on starting ever. So you need to be very, very conscious of projects and if the price per square foot for that area makes sense and if it will make sense based on the upcoming infrastructure. I do have something called forecasting sheets. Every single project I ever sold, I do forecasting, which is why do I think the price will appreciate based on historic data and what's upcoming. So please work with somebody, not me. Somebody who understands what price per square foot means and what the forecasting looks like. Next please. A lot of people are interested about what can they get for their money. So I thought this slide was very, very important, which is starting price. So anything below 1 million dirhams, or for ease, 360,000 Singapore dollars. You're looking at a 500 square feet studio to a 700 square feet, one bed, 30 minutes to CBD. This is through a small tier premium or a premium level. Like Ellington has a one bed, which I think is already appreciated by 200,000 in the 1 week. I sold it for 1 million, now it's 1.3 million in 2 weeks because I sold pre-launch. But you can get a one bed or you can get a studio, which is a bit further away from CBD. Next please. For 2 million, which is the amount you need for the golden visa, for you to be eligible to get a golden visa, you need to pay 770 in Singapore dollars or around 2 million dirhams. Not the entire amount, 24%, but this is the property value. This will get you a stunning one bedroom, around 900 square feet or 700 square feet, 15 minutes from CBD, or maybe a beautiful 2 bedroom, 30 minutes from CBD. So you are trading off either location or the size. And you have to be a better judge of that. I mean, I'm here to help based on individual expectations. And that's what I want to, yes, Pari. Like if your CBD is Marina Tower, I mean, Singapore is not a good comparison because everything is so close.
Okay, in Dubai, what would be?
Dubai Land. Dubai Land is part of 2040 urban plan. So I believe in that area very much. So I've sold a lot of units there. And
Business Bay?
Business Bay is CBD. So I work in Business Bay, so does Prabhupada. So it's CBD. So CBD in Dubai will be Business Bay, Downtown, and DIFC. Now DIFC is not freehold as much, but Business Bay Downtown is. Downtown is on the pricier end. Business Bay is on the cheaper end. Yeah? Next please. Now this is on a higher ticket price. Anybody who's wanting to spend 4.2 million to 7 million dirhams or around 1.5 million Singapore dollars. You're looking at a beautiful 3-bedroom with stunning water view with private beach access, or you're looking at stunning like 2-bedroom, 1550 square feet in an upcoming tower that is the most exclusive residence in all of Dubai. I don't know if you guys picked up a Mercer House brochure here. It was all right there. It's called Mercer House. It's right there. Let me quickly. It's my favorite project too, so I have to talk about it. It's right here. It's called Mercer House. Why do I love it? It has alcohol license. I am not an alcoholic, but it is a USP because nobody in the entire Dubai development zone does alcohol license.
What was that?
So in Singapore, can you go to the pool and have a beer?
No, okay.
In Dubai, this building has a private beach club, which is paid, and it has their own private beach inside the building. It is 48,000 square feet. Crazy? Yeah, that's why it's my dream building too. It is our plan. Also, jokes apart, like it also has an upcoming tower coming up, which is Burj 2020, that will be home to Fortune 500 companies. So it is upcoming DIFC or CBD of Dubai. But you can get that. You need it? Now you want to look at it here. Anyway, moving on, please. Sorry, for this amount you can also get like a 4-bedroom townhouse or a villa. I try not to work with developers that have had a bad history. I stick with developers that I trust, and if I say you're buying with me, you are safe and you can trust me with all of your heart. If I work with somebody I don't trust, I can't have you put your trust in me. So even though you might get a 4-bedroom villa or a townhouse for this amount, this amount, this amount, I'm not the right person. So you can go to the expos on Saturdays and Sundays at MBS, but it'll not be the right place for me to recommend that. I just don't. Lastly, 20 million, sorry, go back. Stunning villas. You can find waterfront, beachfront, whatever you like. It is the highest ticket price. Okay, this was a lot as well. Multiple people asked me. Also, quick thing, I did not know landed property or what landed property meant like 6 months ago, and I had Singapore clients and they're like, so this landed? And I'm like, yeah, it's ready, which means it's landed. What do you mean landed? He's like, no, like landed. And I'm like, what? And they're like, oh, it's a townhouse, a villa. I'm like, oh. So they say condos and landed. In Dubai, we say villas and apartments. But I will do a mix of two today because I represent both Singapore and Dubai today. 1 second, Zach. Keep on that. It is truly a choice. As I mentioned before, I'm not your right partner for investment if you are looking to get a 4-bedroom townhouse for 2.5 million rooms. There are developers I'm now going to name that does it, and there are people who sell it. It's just not me. So if you have a ticket price, which is a bit higher, I'm very happily going to sell you a villa. But if you're looking at a 2 million, 3 million, 4 million price point, I would have to stick with a condo. That condo will be premium, that condo will appreciate in value, that building will be exclusive, that building will have a USP, the developer will be awesome, that location will be awesome, but it will not be a villa. So it truly depends on the budget. However, what I will say is, after helping so many families from Singapore relocate, I have realized that everybody likes space. And I think a lot of people who are investing now, if they want to sell to a future investor, who could also be you if you think about your future person who wants to buy a house, they are looking at 3+ mates, they are looking at 4+ mates, and that's a deal breaker for tons of them. So anybody who invests with me who can possibly do that, I do really recommend a larger layout. And that's just based on experience. A lot of people do prefer townhouse and villas, and there is no question. In terms of stats, we have 1/5 villas compared to condos. Supply is extremely limited, which means people really prefer like a landed property in Singapore terminology, but Depends if that fits the budget. I mean, ready properties, yes, you can, but off-plan, it's difficult. Yeah? Next, please. Lastly, payment plans. Do you guys know how payment plans in Dubai work? So we have, go ahead, Zach. This is Ellington's payment plan, just as an example. It's called 70-30. What does 70-30 mean? If Ellington has a standard 3-year construction period, which means 70% during 3 years, and the remaining 30% on handover before you get the keys, on completion. I'm going to repeat that. 70-30, 70% during construction, so 3 years, beautifully laid out, and 30% on completion. Emaar has 90-10, 90% during 4 years and 10% on completion. Shobha has 60-40, 60% on construction, 40% on completion. So every developer, and then developers I don't work with, but they have 2% per month payment plan that goes for 8 years and 12 years and 40 years, and that's just now the right time to talk about it. Very quickly on the slide, any developer you choose to work with, they will ask for a 20% down payment. So whenever you look at investing, let's say you want to invest $1 million dirhams or 2 million dirhams or 100,000 Singapore dollars, minimum is 240,000 Singapore dollars for a studio. You need to have 24% ready. That 20% goes to developer, and the 4% is a one-time stamp duty that we spoke about initially. Standard, have that ready, before that we can't invest. That's a right now payment, okay? Very quickly, Ellington doesn't pay me, but I take great pride in saying that they are my home company because I've sold so much. And I do quote Pratibha for discounts and better payment plans, and she hates me for it, always. But she's here as well. We do have a bit more flexibility on the payment plan, and I tell that anybody who works with me and Pratibha gets 60-40, if not 50-50, she'll kill me for 50-50. So 60-40, and then maybe a discount here and there, perhaps. Maybe. But yeah, I can say that for Ellington, not for any other developer, because I don't have that relationship with them and they don't even do discounts. Very quickly, one thing you all should know, you cannot get, listen to this carefully, you cannot get a loan on any of this. However, you can get a loan on this amount. Okay? The law says, I've done this, so I'm saying this with experience. The law says you can do maximum 50% mortgage on completion. Let's hear that again. If Emaar is 80-20, you are only paying the 20% upon completion. So you can only mortgage 20%. Even though the law says that you can do maximum 50, it depends on your payment plan. If your payment plan is 40-60, you can still only do 50%. That's so we're clear. We clear on that? Perfect. So 30%, let's say Pratibha very gracefully gives us 60-40, then the 40% could be mortgaged. Okay? Next please. I am going to finish talking very soon now. So very quickly, I do have to have this slide. Zach is like, yeah, stop talking now. I have the slide when I talk about off-plan projects. It basically talks about waterfront properties. It is a personal favorite. I have never come across a single waterfront property that has appreciated in value or in rent. I know people in Singapore who pay for a far sea view, like exorbitant amounts of money for rent. That's the same case with Dubai. It is still attainable. It is still way less than living in Stratford in London and paying the cost of an apartment there. However, we're looking at these prices that have appreciated by more than 3x, if not 5x. And they were launched at below 2,000 dirhams per square feet. And we still have projects in the weather around 2,000 to 3,000 dirhams per square foot that will easily become 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 in the coming times. So I do end with this number. Next please. We make this very quick now. Ready projects, you have something called mortgage. I do want to talk about mortgage very quickly. Next slide. As Singapore clientele, you are eligible to get 60-40 LTV. What is LTV? Loan to value ratio. Meaning, the 60% will be financed by a local UAE bank, and this 40% is your down payment. One thing to know, when you buy a ready property, looking at a 6% additional money on top, the 2% is a commission you have to pay to your agent regardless of who you work with, and the 4% DLD fee. So 60 finance, 40 plus 6% you have to keep in mind. Okay? Worst case 50-50. Now I have had clients who are HSBC Premier or SC Premier, and they have gotten like a better rate of interest and a better, but this is the best you can get. As a resident, I get 80-20. Reason, if you get the golden visa, you still don't get 80-20 because your income source has to be the UAE. Okay? Next please. We'll make this quick, I'm running out of time now. Interest rate, as a resident, currently we're looking at 4.15%. As expats or as non-residents, the most I have done for my Singapore clientele is 4.75%, but depending on financial statements, it can go up to 5.15%. Documents very simple. We have something called the pre-approval process. You need your 6 months of bank statement, your passport, your utility bills for proof of address, and tax returns. Voila, and that's it. You can get a free of cost pre-approval to know how much of a loan you're eligible for, at what interest rate with what bank. Within a week, free of cost. It's called pre-approval in Dubai. Everyone does it in Singapore, just to know what they're eligible for, and then you can only start viewing apartments once you have the pre-approval. Okay? Next please. Process. If you are interested, I can send over like a deck. I don't think I have enough time to explain the process, but it's very, very simple. This is the most asked question for the evening, so we want to spend some time on it. What time is it, Zach? Am I too late? It's 8:30. Pratibha will kill me. We have to talk a lot more later. I'm so sorry. I hope this is helpful so far. Golden visa. We all know what a golden visa is. It is a 10-year residency in Dubai. A lot of people ask me, will I still get it if I apply for a property? Yeah, it is not an application like the PR here or the college applications you do for the US. It's a nightmare in Singapore, and I'm aware. In Dubai, it is very simple. You still just have to buy a property. I do everything for you anyway. So I have applied for a golden visa. I'm in the process of applying for 3 golden visas this week. So we are a one-stop shop. We do buying, selling, renting, golden visa, anything. Therapists as well sometimes, not preferable, but we do that sometimes. But everything, one-stop shop. But it allows you to be in the country for 10 years. It also allows for everyone who holds a golden visa to work without getting an employment pass or like a work visa from the employer, which is not the case in Singapore. If a primary buyer, so let's say Pratibha buys a property and I am Pratibha's husband, I can be, and she is a primary buyer, so she is a golden visa holder. She can sponsor Malika, the husband, the kids, Pratibha's biological parents, and up to 4 house helps. Yeah, we do really care about house helps in Dubai, so we have said 4 house helps go with us everywhere. So that, one thing you should keep in mind, a lot of my Singapore clientele likes to buy properties joint, like a husband and wife together. I don't recommend that because according to the law, if there are 2 people on the property, you have to then put 4 million dirhams. So a lot of people don't know this, they make a mistake and then they have to then invest more. So if you are a family and they just want to get started with golden visa, start with 2 million, 2.5 million depending on the property. And then just get it in one person's name, the husband or the wife, and then have that person sponsor you and the entire family. Okay? Allows you to work, and yeah, it's very, very simple. Golden visa would take you less than 15, 20 days. I apply everything for you. You just have to come to Dubai for 2 hours, get your medical done, and then voila, in 2 days you have the golden visa. So it's an extremely simple process. If you buy an off-plan project, you basically get something called Uqud, which is your statement saying that this property is in your name. That takes 2 months. But once you get that Uqud from the developer, like let's say Ellington, and you can also stress Pratibha and have her give it to you sooner, perhaps. But once we have the Uqud, within 15 to 20 days, we have the golden visa. And I do everything for you again, so you don't have to stress about it. Just come to Dubai, get your medicals done in an hour, and then voila, you're done. Okay? Next, please. Lastly, as well as the last slide I have, I do want to take a moment to talk about this. I think in Singapore, we have spoken about rentals so much, off-plan or ready properties. People here love rental income. There's a new law that came in 2 weeks ago. It's called the new Smart Rental Index. It basically says that now, in Singapore, rents have been gone up by 100%, 200%. In Dubai, you can't do that, 10%, 20% maximum, right? The new law says it also protects the tenants even more. landlords, if they are used in older buildings, they have to renovate their apartment. And the building has to have good maintenance for them to ask for a higher rent. In Dubai, rent's going up like crazy every single day. And for you to take advantage of it, you have to live in a nice, you have to own a nice apartment, because if the apartment is dirty or the maintenance is crap, which it will be if you go with the 1% payment per plan, then you can't ask for rent. So a lot of people look at the short-term vision of let me buy a cheaper apartment and let me get a nice payment plan, but they forget that real estate is a long-term game. We do not look at flipping. We don't look at making 50% in 2 years. Anybody who says that, please run away right that second. If I say that, run away from me. I would never say that. So look at premium developers with good quality. And on that note, next slide, the last one, I promise. I am here for next, I was supposed to be here till Sunday, but I'm already booked out. I am in demand, you guys. You guys are very lucky to have my time today, I swear. But I have extended my trip for 2 more days. I'm here till Tuesday. I might extend more if I need to. I am a member at Mandala, so we have members from Mandala as well here. I do not take walk-ins, unfortunately, so you would have to book a 2-hour slot with me. That's the maximum I do. And then if we do not get a chance to speak based on timelines, I do come to Singapore every month. It is a third home. So I will always be here. I will be doing events like this. So just let me know. We can always do Zoom calls. People have never met me. I do have a social media, which is very aggressive. It's called Malika in Dubai, and I post every single day. I have people who have bought so many million dirhams of properties and never met me, and they've just been bombarded and they've called me, and then we've bought properties together. I do meet them today, yesterday, to show them my face that I'm real and their property is safe. But I am here, so don't rush. If we can't meet this time, we can meet next or the other next. I'm not running away. I will be in Singapore and only be dealing with Singapore clientele. Okay, was this helpful? Very good.